I'm Director of Business Development here at Raken. So I work with a lot of our integration partners. So I know today's focus is on the accounting software side with QuickBooks, but we also have integrations with cloud file storage solutions and reality capture solutions and a lot of other solutions within the construction space that are construction specific. Andrew Ahern, who is an account executive here at Raken, who will also be speaking and diving a little bit into the product itself today. And then James Watt, who's a senior product manager, and I work very closely with in designing and building a lot of these integrations. And we'll speak a little bit to the QuickBooks Online integration and some other, enhancements and things that are coming on the desktop side even. So with that, we'll get into a quick intro. I'll kick us off here on who is Raken. So I think we heard someone is on the call from San Diego. Our office is actually in North County, San Diego, in Carlsbad. So not sure where you are, but probably pretty close. You're welcome to come on in and visit us at any time. We're pretty good hosts over at our office, so come join us. We were founded in 2014. So the reason that's important is the construction software space has gotten very large, very fast. For a lot of us who have been out at these conferences, we've seen the number of booths double and triple over the last 3 to 5 years. We are not a startup. We have been at this for 10 years. That 10 years has provided us an opportunity to really enhance our solution, fine-tune our solution, fine-tune our teams, and create kind of this well-oiled machine in terms of, everything from the onboarding process to support and the product that we're building. So we have about 126 members of Raken currently. So most of them are in San Diego, but, depending on where you are in the country, we may have sales or customer service reps in your area as well. We're pretty widespread now, of course, with the whole work from home movement. We are spread very evenly across the country, but a good chunk in San Diego. So who we serve, we are specific to construction, but we are pretty widespread across construction, not necessarily just general contractors or some subcontractors. We also work with, architects and engineers. And really where this started was as a daily reporting tool 10 years ago. And, more focused on the general contractor side. As you can imagine, over time with general contractors inviting subcontractors to use Raken because they wanted really clean, legible daily reports showing them progress on projects. As we built up the subcontractor part of our business, as you can imagine, we got a lot of requests and demands for product enhancements and new solutions more on the production side, including time tracking, which is really a big part of the focus today. We have I think we're north of 5,500 construction companies spread out really over 90 countries. 90-something% of those are in the US. So a very, very large portion is US based. We have about an average of 10 Raken users per customer, getting us to that 53,000 active users number there at the bottom. And we've been on over 155,000 projects at this point. Which is a pretty crazy range from smaller kind of, custom home builds all the way up to stadiums and airports. So as you can imagine, people ask us questions about what we do and who we work with and who's our average customer. It's kind of a hard question to ask because over time it's really grown. And that's a testament to our product and all the enhancements we've made and things that have made it relevant for all these trade contractors and general contractors on different size projects. So next slide, we will get into, mention these first two here, but these numbers to me are pretty relevant and large. Over 3 million daily reports completed in these last 10 years. So as you can imagine, that consists of 34 million photos. So I think, as humans, we're very visual. That's why my slides have numbers and logos on them here. But it really helps, I think, people to see photos and videos in addition to the notes and the other things that are included in our daily reports. So our daily reports, and I don't want to steal Andrew's thunder, but very customizable in terms of, company logo and color schemes and things like that, something that your customers can be very proud, whether it's a sub sharing it with a general contractor sharing it with an owner, very, nice, clean, custom daily reports. And then 726,000 time cards logged. So this is significant because we haven't had time cards and time tracking for the 10 years. That's a newer solution that we've probably rolled out in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years. James can keep me honest there. But yeah, so heavy adoption fast on the time card solution. And I know that's a big focus for today. And then last but not least, almost 65,000 toolbox talks. So safety is a big one in the construction space, huge. And that we have made a big investment into the safety side, from digital toolbox talks to checklists and some of the other solutions we have on the safety side. So again, pretty quick adoption of that from our customer base, and really good positive feedback there too. So last but not least, I'll just say that for the folks on this call and anyone that watches this in the future, you want to feel comfortable and confident when you're referring a software to one of your customers, right? You want to know that they're in good hands, they're going to be well taken care of, and the product works. One thing I will always highly recommend is take a look at the app stores and the ratings. That number one. And look at two things. Look at the number of reviews, because if there's 10 reviews, they could all be from the company themselves, right? That's a pretty small number. If you're in the thousands, A, they're legit, and B, there's a lot of people using the solution. And then, of course, the rating itself, right? And you'll see down there in the bottom left, anything over 4 is pretty solid these days. 4.7 is pretty unheard of. It's just to toot our own horn. So kind of a testament to not just the solution we've built, but the onboarding process, the support, and the continued support as for Raken customers. And as you hire new people who need to be trained on the solution, we're there 100%. So the other thing I'll call out here is the easiest setup. So in construction specifically, I've been in a couple different industries now. There can be slow movements to adopt technology. People can be a little hesitant to adopt technology. You want to know that it's going to be very easy to use, very easy to set up. And that's, we win awards every year for this. It's something that I hear at conferences, every conference I go to, whether it's a customer or a prospect doing a demo on site, is that, wow, this is really easy to use. I think I can get my teams behind this and using it. You can have the best software built in the world. If your employees are not using it, it's all for naught. So, some testimonials over there to the right. I know everyone can read. I don't need to read those for you, but down there below, some pretty big names in the industry. Like I said, we work with the mom and pop 1 to 10 employee companies. We have top 50, top 10 general contractors using Raken as well. So with that, I will hand it off to Andrew to talk a little bit more about the product itself.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And nice to meet everybody. Just quick intro from my end. I know Ryan already said I'm an account executive. For those of you who don't know or have an idea, basically my job is to make folks who are evaluating Raken their lives as easy as possible. So I'm running a lot of product demonstrations, a lot of Q&A sessions, truly anything and everything that folks need, from kicking the tires to we just purchased. And then at that state, I pass it off to our onboarding team that Ryan just spoke of. So it's a very well-oiled machine in that sense. And yeah, I love talking to folks all day, every day, helping solve problems. And kind of speaking of that, that's a good segue here. So I would say probably once a week, I'm having conversations with businesses where, obviously these are all relevant here. But just a couple of call outs. I'd say first and foremost, chasing after that paperwork. What brings you to Raken? Well, Monday mornings are a total mess, or Friday afternoons, because our payroll person, or sometimes it's the owner of the business, are spending their entire day calling their reps in the field, their superintendents, their foremen, pulling teeth just to get time from them because it's been manually written down, or maybe written in their phone, or maybe it's texted, but it's not necessarily clear, and they don't have that visibility ahead of time. So it just becomes a situation where, yep, Friday comes around, our heads are on fire, we're used to it, but we're also sick of it at the same time, and we want a better solution in place. Another one that we hear as well is kind of the inaccurate data, and it couples with this manual entry, right? If it's being entered in multiple different places at multiple different times, the human error element vastly increases. So as we're going to explore and talk more about as we wrap up today's call, Raken's integration with QuickBooks, so that we're not having to double or and sometimes triple enter the information, we can make sure it's the most accurate and make sure our folks are getting paid on time. So with that, let me go ahead. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. Now, listen, there are a lot of tools out there that track time, and they do it pretty well, right? The difference with Raken is that, as Ryan pointed out, is simply one of the areas that we do really well. So another common situation, companies will come to us and say, look, we have a tool to track our time. We don't have anything to track everything else. And so as they're looking into Raken, the goal is to bring everything under the same roof so that we're not hopping different apps. And also we're getting that adoption from our team in the field, right? If I'm in the field and having to hop between 3 or 4 different tools, the likelihood I'm going to actually do that and stay true to it every day is not very high. So like we've talked about, the majority of today's call is going to be centered around time tracking piece. But I do want to just show very high level, spend about 60 to 90 seconds here, showing what kind of better would look like for a lot of our customers. And so what we're seeing here is an example of a daily report, and it has different sections that we'll touch upon that our companies can track within Raken here. So as Ryan said, customize this to your heart desires, the company colors, the logo, those type of things. This is the project name or work site that we have right here. A lot of these things Raken pulls automatically, right? So date stamp, job number, who it's prepared by. Obviously pictures, those tell the story. Also weather, right? It's all about telling the story, painting the picture for, 6 months from now, why was there a delay for this particular week? And our customers can quickly pull up this information and say, aha, you know what? That's when we had that extreme heat or that blizzard and we couldn't work for that period of time. So little things like that actually make a big impact in telling the bigger picture of things. As we continue on this, obviously time cards, right? So there's a few different ways to track time within Raken, and that's what I'm going to probably spend the next 4 or 5 minutes showing when I hop over to the app. But just some high level things. So you can track individually, right? I'm just tracking Chris's time here, total hours, the pay type. Is it overtime? Is it regular time, weekend time? Classifications, shifts, cost codes, all of these elements go into how our clients are paying their employees. So it's mission critical that a tool like Raken can track those. We also have down here different crews, right? So again, it's just helping. It's a further division of the information, but I just want to see all of my concrete crew, who was on site for that day, how many hours did each guy work? So there's a lot of ways to slice and dice this information. It's kind of a payroll person's dream, if you will, and there's even more detailed reporting that we have available. Coupled with time, with construction, the other two, there's the production umbrella, right? It's time, material, and equipment tracking. So Raken is helping you track used quantities of things like materials, as we're seeing right here, but also equipment. How many hours was it in use? Was there, is it sitting in idle? Is it rented? Just so we can really narrow down and squeeze all of the possible resources and not have anything laying around or wasting time. The idea is we're seeing this from a mile away, we're getting ahead of everything, and we're maximizing our bottom dollar. And then this is pretty self-explanatory here, right? We have our different note sections, and you can put pictures within those particular notes. And then we also have surveys and checklists. So these are very important to just maintaining, how is everything working? Any schedule delays? Yes. And again, this is going to flag folks in the office so that we can get ahead of these problems. So again, a lot of today's call is going to be focused on the time, but we also have all these other elements bringing it under the roof of Raken. And then, by the way, folks, we're going to have time at the end for Q&A. So I'm going to just spend a couple minutes. We're going to show the phone here. Bear with me. And then we are going to...
To Andrew's point, please, I saw Jeff just popped a question, and go ahead and pop those questions in as you're thinking about them, just so we make sure we get to them. But as Andrew said, we'll get to those at the very end, but put them in there. Please, you guys drop your questions in. Thanks for that first question, Jeff.
Perfect. And can folks see my screen here? I got the corgi in the background and Raken in the upper left. So
Yeah, very clear there.
excellent. So to Ryan's point, the whole reason that Raken is in business and how we're different than other folks is our app. You know, hands down, it's the easiest to use. It's the only tool that's built for the field first, because if they're not using it, they're not going to give you the data that you need. So when I click into Raken here, this is the point of view of, say, a superintendent or a foreman. They're going to have limited visibility to things, but for example, right here, we're seeing the different projects that we have on site. Now, the 3 ways that you can track time within Raken, one is if you want your workers to individually punch in and out on their own, we have that for you. If you want your superintendents or your foremans to track time on behalf of your employees, we have that as well. And then the third is a kiosk. So I hear still, you know, hey, we're having guys come to the shop, or, you know, get in a big line when they get to the job site. So we have that kiosk mode as well to help satisfy that. And these are pretty quick and easy, as is, you know, everything in Raken. So the first one to highlight right here, this little clock in the lower right, this is the my time, as we call it. This is for the workers. So if you want your workers to punch in and out on jobs, they can come in. They might be assigned to multiple sites, you know, throughout the next 6 months, so they can select which one they're on. And then it's as simple as clock in. Now we have verification if you choose to enable it, right? So we can have folks take a picture. There's no buddy punching involved. We can have some questions. Were you sick when you came to work? Did you get injured, right? If we're clocking out at the end of the day, that's just to help cover your all's basis. But very simple, clock in, clock out, move on with their work. That's the first method. The second one, I'm going to click into this project here. It's going to be this time card. So this is where your foreman or your supers or, you know, construction managers are going to log time on behalf of their crews. Now you can see I have a few examples already included in here, but if we hit this plus button in the lower right, this is where, as that foreman, I can come in and maybe it's a slightly different crew, right? It's not always the same exact 4 or 5 guys. It could change daily. So we're giving them the ability to go ahead and quickly select. They're going to be able to name this time card. You know, we'll call it finish crew. Oops. And then I can click individually into Alan and give him a total amount of time. But if they're all going to work the same amount, we make that easy too. So let's go ahead and say 8 hours each for all of them. I can add breaks, payroll notes, cost codes. That's all going to be within one swoop right here. Okay. And then the last way to track, let's go to this project here. That's that kiosk mode that I was describing. So in the lower right, we have this. This would be a situation where we want our guys to use one device, typically a tablet, and they're going to actually physically punch in and out, and I'm going to be watching them while they do it. So there's a few different ways that we can set this up, right? The folks come in, Adam is going to go ahead. You can set pins for them. Again, this is to help prevent that buddy punch. And then when he clocks in, you can also require, again, a photo. These are optional, but a lot of folks leverage that. And then clock out, again, pretty self-explanatory there. So from a very high level, those are going to be the 3 ways that Raken is capturing time for your folks in the field. To wrap up this short product demonstration here, I just want to show for our payroll folks on this call kind of where that information goes to. So this is the desktop side of Raken here. And a common report that we have is going to be this timesheet report. So when we access this, again, slice and dice this to your heart's desire. You can pull out single employees by project, really anything and everything you can think of. There's the date range. But really, you know, if I want to take a look and approve everything, make sure it all looks good, right? I'm looking at Carlos and I can slide over, you know, verify the shifts, regular time, cost codes. So again, we have very detailed information if you need it, or kind of keep it high level if that's how your business operates. The nice thing is, once you've completed your verification of everything, that's when you have the ability, you can sync it to your QuickBooks so that it pushes all that information there. Again, my point is you're not having to then go manually enter that into QuickBooks, where A, that's time consuming, and B, increases the chance of human error. So this is, the quick and dirty of how it's all captured, how it works within Raken. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague James here. He's going to talk a little bit more about the QuickBooks. But again, my job for folks who are more interested in this and want to have a deeper conversation, I'm here to just make your lives easier. So feel free to reach out to me, after the fact. We can set something up. More than happy to help.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Andrew. And let me pull this up here.
Okay.
All right. So just a couple quick notes here on the QuickBooks Online integration. Kind of one of the themes that we've covered here with Ryan and Andrew as they're going through is just this kind of, ease of use and ease of setup. So to that end, our QuickBooks Online integration is, very, simple, easy to understand for our customers. So it's an entirely kind of self-service model for setting up this particular integration. And one of the biggest benefits that we see customers get from this integration is actually kind of at the start of the story here, right? So it's when somebody's getting connected for the first time with Raken, and they've already got all of their customers and jobs within QuickBooks Online, as well as their employee list. We want to make it as easy as possible to get that data into Raken. So the integration is going to take all that information and import that, automatically and seamlessly directly into Raken. So that's kind of one of the kind of first points I'd make here. Then, as we just saw with Andrew's demonstration there, it is going to be much easier for the team to actually capture accurate time in the field, right? So just the kind of ease of use of our mobile application really does increase the kind of compliance with getting this time captured and make sure that all the details are in place there to make sure that job costing and payroll and so forth can be executed successfully down the line. So to facilitate that, obviously we then are able to sync that time from Raken into QuickBooks Online and just eliminate that manual and double entry at kind of all stages here in this process. So that's kind of high level what the QuickBooks Online integration does. And just to kind of give the full picture here on the kind of data level, again, right now it is going to be a relatively lightweight integration here where we're pulling your employees and your projects from QBO directly into Raken, and then time cards are going to be pushed back the other direction. So right now that's kind of the scope of what the integration does. Obviously there are some other kind of components here that could be added in the future, and we're always hoping to kind of expand how customers use our integrations, as well as kind of what the capabilities are that they support. There was a comment in the chat there as well, just about QBO versus desktop. And happy to say that we are currently working on our integration with desktop, and that will be ready in the near term. We don't have an exact date yet, but it is definitely coming shortly. Perfect. And if there are any other questions about the integration, happy to kind of stick around and answer those in the chat too. And I think we've just got a couple quick more slides here to kind of round out the call.
Yeah, James, real quick, looks like Jeff asked any integration for materials, or are those all input into QBO?
Yeah, materials, that's a great question. So materials are currently not in the scope of the integration. So that's, again, something that, based on user feedback, we're always looking to kind of expand what the integration can do. So that particular question hasn't honestly come up a bunch from our current clients. But, if there's a need, we definitely can pursue that.
Yeah, and just to add a couple quick things. So in relation to the integration question, so we currently have, I mentioned earlier, about 5,500 customers. I would say north of 20% of those are QuickBooks users. So we have over 1,000 customers right now that are either on QBO or QuickBooks Desktop. The integration piece, one thing I'll just kind of add is, you see a much bigger value to an integration when you have more employees, right? You're eliminating the manual entry for 20 employees, 30, hundreds in some cases. Of those 1,000 customers that we have, not everyone's using the integration, even those that could, right? Some of them want a little bit more control over what's entering their system. Some of them leverage our integration, like say Paychecks first, and then Paychecks to QuickBooks. So just wanted to add a couple thoughts there. But yeah, ultimately, I know we all get caught up in the APIs and integrations and all this, and there's tremendous value there. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes for some of the smaller companies, I think they do prefer the non-integrated option. So next,
Sure.
is there a next slide? Okay, so is that back to
Yeah, I
you?
think we've just got a couple quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are just, some high-level customer testimonials of folks. As you can imagine, these are the folks I talk to, right? They're coming from a world of, it's pretty painful to get this information. And then they're speaking to the ease of use of Raken and what that unlocks for them. I think there's one more, James, if you click through. So yeah, these, like Ryan said, between our testimonials that we receive from customers and the App Store ratings that we get, we're very proud and hang our hats on, all of that feedback and mostly that ease of use, right? And what that unlocks for people. So James, if you want to just click to this last slide here, before we open the floor to any additional questions that haven't been asked, just want to reiterate for folks who are interested in learning more information, want to set up a product demo for themselves, their client, or just, have a casual conversation. Truly everything and anything I'm here for. This is my direct information. Jordan just added a book a call with me link, or if you just want to add your email or phone number in the chat here, and I can follow up with you after, feel free to do so. But I'll be kind of that point person going forward if you do want to learn more.
Yeah, and Jeff, you've had some great questions and really even some suggestions kind of in the chat. So appreciate that and that feedback. We've been pretty focused on the mobile app today as well, which is obviously very important for the collection of time in the field. However, I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we do have a web app as well. And a lot of this information that's being collected and speaking to the materials and equipment piece too, we have some great kind of analytical dashboards and insights within the web app as well. So while I know we've talked a lot about the mobile app, which is more so specific to field, there's kind of that office portion of Raken as well, where they can log in and have that visibility to all these things being captured in the field in real time, which is very valuable as well. So I just wanted to call that out.
Hey, Ryan, I have a quick question. Is there a minimum size business that, like a single sole proprietor, 1 or 2 employees, does Raken make sense for that kind of company?
We can, absolutely. Yeah, we have a ton of customers that have 1 or 2 users. So yeah, no, we absolutely work with those folks. That's kind of where we started, to be honest. We've just over the years grown to create, a lot more enhancements, a lot more features and functionality. That's kind of taken us up market, but we still absolutely work with the smaller companies as well. And a lot of those grow, right? A lot of those, they need a tool like this to get to that next level and to grow and to compete with some of the bigger ones. Maybe they're competing against that are 10 employees or 20 employees. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely.
So as a selling point, Ryan, it would be, you would suggest that why not start with it now, and then when you can ramp up, it makes it easier to expand and be scalable. Is that like a good conversation? Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of that ease of use and implementation is, we have a lot of folks that go to the App Store and download Raken and start using it right away, same day. It's that easy. That being said, we still have the team here to implement, support, train, and then as you're adding users, train them on it as well. But it just kind of speaks to how true. I know you keep hearing us say this, ease of use, but it's so true. And yeah, you nailed it. It's like you start with one, get comfortable with it. Whether you're adding employees or you just started with one, and that person's now talking to another person in the office, showing them Raken, and then they want it themselves. So that's a lot of the time, it's just kind of viral how it grows within an organization, or even some of the larger companies that start with the division, right? Or a project, and then they add users as they go as well, once they truly see the value of it. So we don't have any minimum commitment in terms of no, you have to have 5 seats or more. We don't do any of that. You can start with 1 user. We've done it plenty of times, and we see a lot of those folks grow.
Awesome.
Hey, Ryan, my question is, this is the first I've seen it. so I was trying to figure out, is this like just QB time with the daily field reports, or is this, am I setting up a project? Am I putting in revenue and expenses and tracking the project and like a Notify, getting a sign off? And it just sounds like it's not that unless I haven't seen it. Or is it really just, I don't want to say just, because obviously it's pretty powerful, a time tracking daily field report system? I'm just trying to figure out where it fits with all my clients.
Yeah, I don't know, James, if you want to hop in there. I know you've been way more involved with the with that piece of it. James is on the product side, but
Sure.
I'll just say that, yeah, and I think Andrew touched on this earlier with there's a ton of time tracking solutions and options out there, right? What separates us from the others is all those other things we do. We went very high level today on the daily reporting solution, but even as you get into the daily reporting piece, there's segments and other features and functions that are very powerful tools, just in addition to photos and videos and I mean, the surveys are customizable, the checklists are customized. It's all very customizable. And then the safety piece too, right? It's a big one. There's a lot that we do. The difference is we didn't start as a time tracking solution. We became one, a little bit out of necessity because of all the contractors we were working with, especially on the specialty, sub side. So I don't know, James, if you want to add to that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's all accurate, and I would just add again that Raken, our end users are primarily the foremen and the superintendents in the field, right? So think about Raken as this kit of tools for that person, right, to capture all the data that they need. Obviously, time is going to be one of those huge important items that they're capturing on a daily basis, but complement that with all of the additional reports and checklists and observations. So we kind of we do kind of stick within that realm. That's kind of where we play best, right? So you're right, we're not doing project financials necessarily in that same sense, right? We kind of stay away from for the most part from dollars, right? We're not kind of capturing exactly like this purchase order or this delivery came in the sense of like hey, we're actually starting to track that against job cost and the budgets and so forth for the job. But we give the field team the tool that they need to capture the data that's going to make everybody's life easier when that data gets moved into the office, right? And that's really where we play best. Yep. Great question though.
Thank you. Oh, one other question. Do you do any kind of scheduling of time workers? Like they're going to
not
be
today, but that is
week?
that is something that we're actively pursuing right now. Yeah, so that's going to be in the future, but not supported right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
you can imagine, Jeff, as you roll out a new feature or certain functionality, it opens that door for the enhancement or the next option. It's like complete the workflow. And it's so yeah, there's a lot on our radar. Scheduling's up there for sure. So
yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Team Raken. And thank you, Jeff, and everybody for the excellent questions. Please do let us know if you've got any more questions at all in the chat. I want to shout out everybody on the call, all of the field experts in this area, no pun intended. I know David, shout out to David Gutierrez, the Bay Area has an interest in this area. Shout out to Maria Martinez in the chat. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts if you're able to share them on this. And also to everybody on the recording, as I said in the chat, there's approximately 1.25 million field services contractors operating in the US at the moment. This is a huge opportunity to those that know about it. Obviously, there's a lot of experts on this call taking advantage of it. We can also, I'm going to do a screen share if we get a chance at the end, provide resources to help you access these opportunities. And we'll talk about that more if we get a chance at the end of the call, a little teaser there.
Yeah, I'll just add what I love about Raken. I've known your team, Ryan, for a long time, years and years, probably over, I guess, 10 years now, maybe, is that it's extremely scalable. As Ryan mentioned and James mentioned earlier, in my former life, I was a construction accountant and spent a lot of time with these numbers and trying to facilitate. I was on a podcast not too long ago where they asked me from an accountant perspective, if you look at yourself 10 years ago, 20 years ago, as an accountant, what was your worst nightmare? And I said, timekeeping daily, when I was on a job with Skanska USA, the daily like collection of safety toolbox talks on paper and, trying to facilitate all those, project receivables that you had to then turn over to the owner, and how we did all that back then. So, from those toolbox talks to timekeeping and expense reporting, which kind of feeds all into what Raken is trying to accomplish and to eliminate. I love, Ryan, that you said this is for the team members out in the field. Project management solution, the NoFIs, the Procores, in that space, those are to help the project managers, and they're great solutions for facilitating, back and forth data that has to be, fed from the construction opportunity. So that project management type work to the office where you're doing those daily numbers. That's an important function. Raken is an addition to that, where that team member in the field is really, you're lessening their burden. What do they want to do in their daily lives? They want to build the building. They want to do their job. They want to make sure people are there. They want to, make their lives easier so they can actually focus on getting their job done. And that's really, really hard because we don't focus on that team a lot. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about our field team members and their struggles. And Raken solves their day-to-day work. They're not having to do this on paper anymore. They're not having to, those sheets. I don't know if you guys remember when you had to press really hard on the 3 copies, and one yellow went to the office and blue went to and green went to there. And I mean, it was a nightmare, right? I lived it. So this really, I think when we think about our team members that are really performing out in the field, this solves their day-to-day problems. 2 separate worlds, right? So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there from my perspective. It's really an addition to a project management solution.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Tammy. Those are solid points. And I'll add one other thing, because we scratched the surface on it a little, the liability side of things. So, man, having things documented in a digital format and a digital filing cabinet that's easy to reference and find versus, I know a construction defect attorney who's told me horror stories about, being handed manila folders that she's had to file through to find things, and having those photos and those videos and just everything documented. I know today was about time, but man, I cannot overstate the importance of that. We actually, and just to add to that real quick, we just teamed up with an insurance provider that is now offering discounts on the premium to Raken users.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's a great step in the right direction, and kind of validates this thought of, man, there's so much liability in construction, and these lawsuits are not small. So anything you can do to document things and stay organized is huge. And the preventative piece too, right? Like digital toolbox talks and those things. So
Could you upload like compliance certificates or anything like that from your subs or anything like that yet? As far as compliance.
I see
So,
James
yeah.
shaking his head. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a couple different tools that we could use to capture information of that nature, right? So we just launched a new forms tool that allows you to kind of store project critical information against a specific job. So that's one area that could be leveraged for that. We do also have highly flexible, customized checklists, and they can be set up to do kind of capture whatever information you need, really. So if you want to kind of automate this process and capture the information that way, that can be done too.
Yeah, today was very high level. So Jeff, if you had a customer that wanted a deeper dive into Raken, obviously, and you're more than welcome to join that call to get kind of that detailed view as well, to get deeper into some of these things, because there's a lot. I mean, you can see just on the mobile app all the icons there, the different options.
Sure.
We do. I know, Tammy, since you saw Raken last, I mean, it's probably doubled in terms of features and functionality. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the equipment tracking tool as well. I know we didn't hit on that today, but when it comes to job sites, the equipment tracking can be very, very important. So I'm sure, I know we didn't get to every little piece of Raken today, but I love that tool.